Concord is like the Netflix adaptation of Overwatch. They spent way too much money on it and took every last character to the ironing board.
This is just a worse version of, like, Overwatch when it came out was better than this. Like, how did this get greenlit? You ain't never gonna see a girl from OnlyFans cosplaying this at anime convention. I tell you that. It's for modern audience. If the modern audience is a golden corral.
Another one bites the dust. The parent company of Concord is allegedly shutting down after the game's massive flop. Watch the end of the video to fully understand the implications of this occurring and how it will affect more woke games, including movies and other forms of media going forward. Today's video comes from Vara Dark. Her channel will be linked in the description, so you can go check her out and support her. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
Concord was a failure of spectacular proportions, and it doesn't look like the people originally involved in this game's development are going to have a very bright future, because a Concord insider now believes the original parent company will not survive the game's catastrophic failure. And just a few weeks ago, when all of the drama was going on with Concord, we actually heard an insider say that Probably Monsters, the original parent company, was internally brushing off criticism of the game, and they really didn't care because it was out of their hands and they didn't think it was going to affect them. But it seems their tune has changed a bit, because a Concord insider alleges that the game's original parent company, Probably Monsters, will not survive the game's catastrophic failure that saw it get shut down by Firewalk Studios and PlayStation in less than 2 weeks after its initial release due to a lack of players. Now, we do not know exactly how much money Sony gave Probably Monsters for Firewalk Studios in Concord, but the rumor is that it was a behemoth amount of money, that it could have been even $100 million. So they might just want to take the cash and run. They can, close Probably Monsters, lay low for a little while, and then start another development studio later down the line that isn't the same name, because Probably Monsters will be forever tainted by Concord's failure. But we do not know for certain, though it sounds like they are in for a very bad time. So, of course, they shared that the company offered full refunds. I talked about the Concord saga quite a bit on the channel. It came, it went, it was a spectacular failure, and the announcement of the game's shutdown came after it failed to attract any kind of substantial player base. When the game released on August 23rd, it only hit a peak concurrent player count of just 697 on Steam, which is abysmal, but it also did not appear to do well on PlayStation, because the latest data from PSN profiles indicates that only 1,825 people purchased the game. Now, this isn't fully true, because you actually have to opt in to PlayStation profiles, but there are millions upon millions upon millions of gamers who use PSN profiles, so it just seems that people either did not take the time to sign up for it because they weren't going to play the game for very long, or they just did not buy the game in totality. And True Trophies also reported the game bombed out of the gate, landing in the 147th most popular PlayStation game on its weekly chart when it first released, and then in the second week it fell to 180th, so we are not talking about spectacular numbers here in any way, shape, or form. It's not like there was one or two statistics that showed it was doing really fantastically. The word on the street is that Sony ended up in totality putting in $500 million to this game, because they really expected it to be the next Overwatch. It was supposed to be a major hero genre game. It was supposed to do really, really well for them. And that, of course, just didn't happen, which isn't shocking given its DEI focus. All of the character designs were really bad. The maps were also really mediocre. The character backstories were cringy. I mean, everything that could have gone wrong with this game did go wrong with this game. And to top it all off, it was a $40 experience at launch, which is definitely the 2016 Overwatch launch mentality. And that's just not the way that the industry works anymore. We've moved past that. If this had released for free to play, I do think more people would have probably given it a shot, but it was mocked ruthlessly on the internet because of the bad maps, the bad designs, the bad story, basically everything. And we had heard that, yes, probably Monsters allegedly did not particularly care, that they were like, it's not our problem anymore, and they were ignoring all of the criticisms. And hey, they were part of the development cycle for this game for years, so you'd think that they would have actually cared in some way, shape, or form, that they would have tried to have listened, but it seems that they, did not. A Concord insider, of course, tells that Park Place that he does not believe that probably Monsters will survive moving forward, albeit he does think that there are some people who might be able to salvage the company and thread the needle, but only time will tell. And he also noted that morale at the company is horrifically low. It sounded that they were a smaller team from the get-go, so when you have a smaller team, they're seeing such a massive failure and so many people on the internet ruthlessly mocking them. It's not a shocker to hear that morale would be horrifically low, but I would be interested to see if any other information comes out about this, if Probably Monsters decides to make a statement. Of course, they haven't until now, so I highly doubt that they would, just because it would be bringing more attention to them that they most likely do not want. Though this insider believes the original parent company will not survive the game's catastrophic failure, and even though it did not fail under their watch, they're the ones who were initially developing it, and it just goes to show that, maybe Sony ended up reskinning it and adding all these DEI designs and character stories, but at the end of the day, the game is still complete garbage, which does reflect poorly on them.
So numerous inside sources have said that the actual development cost for Concord was really around $400 million, and that to break even, they would have had to have earned around $700 million. So the total losses that they've actually made on the game are really going to be around $700 million, just shy of $1 billion, which explains the reason why they're probably trying to bring this game back as a free-to-play, as they've invested so much into the game, and they likely don't have very much to put out there in its place. Don't forget what they've been saying about the PlayStation for a long time, that the PlayStation 5 has no games. They had invested tons of money into Concord. They believed that Concord was going to have like shows, there was going to be a TV series for it. There were going to be like weekly reveals or regular reveals within the game. It was going to be like a series, over time. They had such big plans. They thought that this game was designed for modern audiences, and these are the results. There is no modern audience. There are a bunch of virtue signaling lunatics, and that's about it. And even most of those jerks didn't even bother to pick up the game and support the game, despite the fact that they were running their mouths, and they're still running their mouths. It's just pathetic. And of course, we end up having to suffer as a result of the nonsense that they're doing. No one wanted this game. It should never have made it out, and the results are very, very clear. It is, Sweet Baby Inc. was all over this terrible steaming pile of crap, and they are taking down studio after studio with them. Some studios that thought that they were special, they were virtue signaling, now they are shutting down. They had to lose their entire staff. There is no future, and they're trying to act like, oh, well, it's going to be okay. A lot of these people, a lot of them are going to end up homeless. You go woke, you go broke, and it's definitely a mind virus, because they think that they're going to survive when the consumer is just walking away. The money does not go on forever. And many of us can see the writing on the wall. Many of us are working to pay off debt, to purchase land, to stock up on valuable crypto and assets and resources. We basically know this is a Gen X thing. We were raised for the apocalypse. We can smell hell coming a mile away, and we're ready for it. That's just the way we are. And of course, while Gen Z is out there sleeping and farting, and the millennials think that they're going to, rise and take control, Gen X is like, leave me alone, and I'm just going to be over here preparing. And this is not all Gen Xers. There are some who are basically like, yeah, I'm cooked, and I'm just going to wait for everything to go to hell. There are many like that. They just like to say they don't give a damn, and they're just waiting for everything to go to hell. But many are preparing. Many Gen Xers are preparing. They're prepping. I think of all generations, Gen X is the probably the largest preppers, less largest prepping generation. Like they don't mess around. They prep. They love to prep. People like to talk crap about the prepping community, but when, the events of 2020 occurred and people were out there in the streets struggling to find toilet paper, fighting to get access to food, and all this other stuff, what do you think the preppers were doing? The preppers were chilling, all right, on mountains of they had guns, ammo, toilet paper, food, and of course God. So they were all set. This stuff was hilarious. Y'all realize the preppers rode that entire thing out comfortably from their bunkers at that? Many of them were just realistically just chilling on their land. Because one thing that goes with being a prepper is a lot of these people have lots of land. So they had like 30 acres of land, some of them. So this was like they were in their whole own little world. Like that's my goal right now, is to get myself like 30 acres of land. Really would like that. Nice foresty area. Make sure no one can come on my land. Put a ranch on there. Have animals and everything. The boomers are such jokers because many of them resent the idea of living on a ranch. I don't want to do the whole farm thing, but I want to be able to grow my own vegetables and fruits, stuff like that. Very small things that I want to raise my animals, have fresh eggs, access to fresh milk. I want some goats, goat milk, things like that. Raise my goats. I want my goats. I want to have some goats. And I will live that life. The boomers, for some reason, they hate the idea of farms. They hate the idea of self-sustainability. Something is wrong with these people. They're just like Gen Zers. I know I've seen some people who say, well, I grew up on a farm and I'll never go back. Yeah, bro, I get it. You're like a runaway, you're like a runaway, we know what. But again, I get it. You grew up there, you didn't like it there, and you ran away from the farm. Well, guess what, bro? You can stay in the city and starve in the city. I don't really give a damn. I'm just being so honest. Because, at the end of the day, it's all about surviving. And there's some people who are like, they want to live these city-based lives where they're gonna, they want to have fun, they want excitement, they don't want open, again, I don't care about these people. I could care less about these people. Okay, let them stay in the cities. Look at New York City. New York City is a cesspool. It is one of the worst places on earth. Okay, it is not a happy place. It is a miserable place. You have bums all over the place, tons of poverty, and and then you have a bunch of people who shouldn't really be there that are there getting a ton of handouts. All right, it's a nasty place to live, and it's just it's just one of many. So it's like it's sad, it's pathetic, but that's the reality that things have really come down to. Okay? That's the reality that things have really come down to. And we have to be very, very well aware of it. Games like Concord are pieces of trash. Pieces of trash, and it just kind of reflects this more and more. It's sad because they could have done better, but it's funny? People are beginning to see these live service games for what they are, just major cash grabs. Overwatch 2 is a piece of crap. For example, people loved Overwatch 1. It did very well. And then they turned around and they tried to have the same success with Overwatch 2, which was basically Overwatch 1 with tons of microtransactions. And as a result, it failed. And now Sony comes out with this piece of garbage that is a poor man's version of Overwatch wrapped up in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they're like, okay, you're going to enjoy this. This is perfect, all right? This is exactly what you've been waiting for. And if you don't like it, don't buy it. So what did people do? They didn't buy it. And I guarantee you, there are millions and millions of these woke jerks out there, and yet none of them wanted to spend their money on this crap game either. I'll tell you something very interesting. Like, when looking for gameplay footage for Concord, there's just like not a lot of it. And and the thing is, it does make sense because don't forget, it only sold 25,000 copies total. That's both digital and physical. 25,000. This is a game that they're going to lose $700 million on. Like, there's a story about the whole ET cartridges back in the 80s, and, they weren't able to sell them, so they took them and dug a hole in, like, New Mexico, and they dumped them into the hole, and then someone went and checked it out, and they found the cartridges, and it's true, they really did do that. Like, they're going to have to go and do something similar with all of these useless copies of Concord. Okay, like they're gonna have to go and someone said like they're gonna have to go and dig that hole. Maybe they can open the same ET hole back up and dump all of this stuff. Like these companies are terrible. If they get caught, I really hope they get caught and get fined for dumping. Because I don't think that they could pull off what they did back in the 80s, where they just went out like to the Nevada desert, well, New Mexico desert, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna dig a big hole, dump this crap, and then cover it with cement. Can you imagine that's the world we used to live in? But don't think that I say used to, but guys, shady crap still happens all the time. All the time, shady crap still happens. So that's definitely something for us to 100% consider. And then of course, you have the Dustborn CEO raging. That's another DEI company. They've lost tons of money as a result of what they chose to do. And now they're crying over it because gamers are saying, screw you, we don't want your crap game, and you and your company can go to hell. And they don't know what to do other than talk crap to gamers and condemn gamers for not wanting to pick up their trash. I mean, you said, if you don't like it, don't buy it. You called all of us a bunch of RACISTs, and now guess what? You're broke. And your company is closing down and you're lashing out. You don't even know what woke is. You're woke. We don't have an agenda, bro. You have an entire pamphlet where you outline your agenda to exclude white males from even working at your companies while prioritizing minorities. I mean, what exactly do you want? That's like the definition of discrimination. And you have lawyers who are literally on YouTube like, yeah, bro, this is a case right here. If anyone brings a case, they're gonna win this case. That's discrimination. This is illegal what they're doing. It 100% is. Like CD Projekt Red, they need to be sued for their terrible policies and their exclusionary policies. They're so full of crap, and insiders have been talking about, that's the developer of The Witcher and Cyberpunk, how they've been firing developers that know how to code, firing white males and replacing them with a diverse group of employees, right? And having minority only, women only events because where they can feel safe and heard. 100% discriminating against men, specifically white men, when it comes to hiring, discriminating against white men when it comes to training. It's absolute men in general when it comes to training events. It's absolutely nasty what they're doing. And they're like, no, that's not woke. That's not discrimination. Now shut up about it. Going after anyone who even talks about it. CEO coming after YouTubers on Twitter for saying that CD Projekt Red has gone woke and is pushing massive DEI initiatives, and then they're like, we haven't done any such thing. All right, we have not gone woke. Now stop talking about it, and they're like laughing in your face and trying to get snarky while trying to silence you and bring their Simpson. Absolutely disgraceful. All right, absolutely disgraceful. Dustboard is a piece of garbage, and then the CEO is raging because gamers are like, F off, and he's like, how dare you not buy my garbage? How dare you not buy my trash?
When Dustborn was first announced and the developers admitted that it was inspired by, quote, political events beginning in 2016, we knew that it was going to be a nightmare for them, but apparently they didn't, because now Dustborn devs are opening up after the brutal launch, saying it caught them completely off guard. Now, Dustborn was never going to be a massive game. Let's be honest, this is a title that appealed to a very small group of people, and the devs should have understood that. They should have went into it knowing that, hey, this isn't going to be some smashing commercial success, though they are listening to the vocal minority of gamers on social media. And we know that when you market your games for modern audiences, aka sensitive snowflakes on social media, they really do not show up to buy video games because they do not play video games. So you'd think that they would at least show up to buy this like movie game, this cringe fest of political references, but they didn't even do that. And now, instead of just admitting the fact that they created a title that nobody wanted, and people, yes, were allowed to criticize. They're now crying abuse and hatred and harassment. Now, I want to give a little bit of context because they've already done that. Back in August, around the release, the Dustborn devs have called out the tidal wave of hate and abuse that's engulfed the game, saying those who engage in such behavior will be removed from our community. So, of course, instead of just listening to our feedback and our criticisms, they called us bigots, they called us sexist, they called us racist, they called us homophobes. I mean, they called us every name in the book, and instead of just trying to understand where we were coming from, they said straight up that they were going to ban us, they were going to remove us from the community, and hey, if you are going to tell us you do not want us around, and you are going to tell us do not buy it if you don't like it, people, newsflash, are not gonna buy it. And that is exactly what happened. As you can see over on SteamDB, it's got 5 people in game right now, 7 in the past 24 hours, and the all-time peak 2 months ago at release was 83. Now, I did give this title a try, and it was one of the worst games that I have ever played. It was buggy, it was broken, the dialogue was extremely cringy. You had all of these, like, current day political references that were just jam-packed in there. It was not a good game by any stretch of the means. And instead of, again, just simply saying, hey, we created a game that people didn't want, of course, they're saying it caught them completely off guard when months leading up to launch, gamers across the world were saying this is going to be a financial disaster for them. And they used taxpayer money for this from the Norwegian Institute. So you'd think that they would at least have had some sort of targeted audience for this besides the modern audience, you know, a group of people who actually plays games perhaps. But it says Ragnar is one of the leading figures in the Norwegian game industry. Yeah, for all of the 5 people that are there. I'm sorry, I don't hear about Norwegian game developers a lot, and if he is the leading figure, they are screwed. He has worked in game development for nearly 30 years and loves his job. It is his greatest passion. Congratulations. What does he want, a sticker? I'm passionate about YouTube, and I don't go around saying, I love video games and I'm a YouTuber, I'm a leading figure. I don't do that. That's really weird. And I don't ask journos to write articles patting me on the back. However, the launch of Dustborn, the newest game from Red Thread Games, has forced him to seriously reconsider whether game development is something worth pursuing. If one failed video game is the reason why he wants to quit game development, he really wasn't that passionate in the first place. Maybe that's a hot take, and I'm sure that he has received a lot of harsh backlash over the past couple of months. But that's the great thing about social media, is you can turn it off. You can turn off your phone. You can turn off your computer. You can log out of social media. You don't have to doom scroll all day just because you released a game and you know that content creators online are talking about it. When you create a product, people are allowed to criticize it. And this game was heavily criticized, sure, but you can shut off social media and go back to creating games. Maybe if you focused on doing that instead of shoving political references from the 2016 election that you so very much hated, maybe you would have created a better product. Is it worth living this way when you have a family? I mean, okay, you're getting pretty dramatic here. That is one of the questions he asked himself. The game has received enormous international attention, mostly of the negative kind. They're complaining about receiving international attention when they specifically went into interviews leading up to release with like PC Gamer, and you'd think that maybe they would understand that they were going to have their game be pushed to a wider international audience, but instead that's not really being understood here. The CEO said it caught us completely off guard. We were very surprised by the extreme reaction to the launch, and we had no plan how to handle it. You can easily ignore what's said on forums or X. Emails feels a little closer to home, but receiving text messages where someone wishes you dead is unsettling. I have not seen a single post on social media that leaked his phone number, that boasted about messaging his phone number or any of the developers' phone numbers. And I am not sitting here saying that 100% without a shadow of a doubt did not happen, because there are crazy individuals on social media who will push the boundaries. But when you are making a claim this serious, you need to show some sort of proof. Block out his phone number, show the text messages, at least 1 or 2 screenshots, and I would be sitting here defending him tooth and nail. But that is not what these people do. Time and time again, they say they receive abuse, hatred, harassment, they receive death threats, their phone numbers are leaked, they are sent phone texts or calls, and they never show any sort of proof. So it is extremely hard to believe these people, because they love to play the victim, and it is extremely easy to play the victim on social media. All you have to do is saying, I'm receiving backlash, hatred, and harassment, and somebody will run to your defense because they want to at least blindly support you.
I mean, guys, I talked about it recently that Sonic the Hedgehog has gone woke. They're releasing Sonic Generations with Shadow, so Sonic Generations Shadow, and they've sent, that's a remaster of an older game, and they add Shadow to it, and they've censored the heck out of it. For example, Sonic can no longer playfully push Amy back. That's a microaggression and toxic masculinity. Certain language has been removed because it suggests that you're saying something that is discriminating against fat people. Holy cow. So they're removing any form of humor whatsoever, and then IGN is like, oh my gosh, it's a masterpiece. Because all of these media companies are controlled by woke ideologists. That's all it is. All right, so they can push their garbage. One thing I will say about the left is they have been so amazing at gaining access to large companies, to media. If it doesn't matter if it's CBS or if it's IGN, they basically just don't give a damn. It's literally all about indoctrination, 100% about indoctrination, and they've been very successful at getting control of these media companies so they can spread their indoctrination, so they can spread their toxic message, so they can spread their wicked, evil, woke ideologies. And of course, the Sims are a large part of this. None of the evil and awful things that have happened in Western society could ever have happened if it was not for the disgusting, just plain out vindictive, I can't even find the words to describe these little leprechauns known as the Sims, because they're the ones responsible for so much of our pain and suffering. I tell you guys, like, if we ever entered into a scenario where, it's basically hell on earth, every man for themselves, and, the Sims are basically out and about, and people know who they are and know what they've done, let's just say they wouldn't have a good time. It's like destiny, holding destiny in your hands, and men sitting around a piece of fire throwing pieces of destiny into it. It's like, it's like, can you choose your destiny? Well, in this case, you could. It's a miserable outlook, but that's just the reality that we live in. And the Sims are 100% responsible for what has happened here. They are the cause of this. They are the instigators of this. They're the ones who made it a reality because of their wicked ways, because of the terrible things that they've done. They betrayed men, they betrayed masculinity, also that they could get access to money and women. Their jobs, they operate as agents of the state, and it's their job to reallocate wealth and resources from men to the state, and to also demoralize men, and cause distress, so that men are easier to control, so that men and boys are easier to control. Why do the Sims do it? Because this is their way of survival. In a normal reality, in a healthy world, the Sims basically wouldn't really be here right now. They would be dealt with very, very quickly, because no one's going to put up with their crap. The Sims are very, very comfortable hiding behind women and children, because a simp is a coward. Do not misunderstand. A simp is a 100% coward. If a simp is confronted with a real man who's basically going to handle business, they will run away. That's how the simp works. The typical simp is nothing more than a keyboard warrior also. They sit behind a keyboard and they talk a lot of crap, but they can't actually do anything to back it up. Because those are the kinds of people that they are. They're a bunch of good-for-nothing trolls that think that people actually are going to bow down to them, and then they discover that no one gives a crap about what they actually think. Like the Sims are not long for this world. I'm telling you all that right now because we are facing some serious problems. We can see it coming a mile away. Like literally, you should be prepping your butt off for the psychotic things that are headed our way. Okay? You need to grab your destiny and basically say, "Hey, this is what's going to happen and I'm going to, I'm going to take control of it because we are living in some truly awful times right now." And guys, if you're enjoying the content, check out the Angry Guy Clubhouse. Get top expat and passport bro travel tips, digital nomad guides, passive income strategies, and hard-hitting manosphere content. Free subscribers get access to videos, podcasts, articles, and community chat. Plus, receive the passive income blueprint and digital nomad blueprint just for subscribing. Paid subscribers unlock exclusive guides like the How to Build an Online Business in 24 Hours ebook, wealth building blueprints, and crypto updates. Join us now. Click the link in the description. The original parent company of Concord is shutting down because they're a bunch of woke jerks that have helped to destroy the gaming industry. What do you guys think regarding this? Do you agree that we're going to see many more companies like this shutting down that have gone woke and will now be going broke? We are 100% in a gaming collapse, a gaming crash, and that's a great thing as we move more towards focusing on indie games and older games and shutting these pieces of woke trash that are being hawked to us today. Let me know your thoughts and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.